What's up, football world? Welcome to the Bucky Brooks Show. I am Bucky Brooks, and today we're taking on another fun topic. We are going to rank the NFC South, and we're going to do it in all categories. We're going to talk about quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, offensive line, defense, and head coaches. And then we're going to kind of predict which team, based on those rankings, should be the division winner when we get to season's end. This is always fun because there's been a lot of people that like to jump in the comments and share their opinion. So feel free to make sure you jump in. Make sure you check out the cool things that we're doing on Bleav. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel. Love to get your response. So this should be an interactive deal. But let's start at the top, because whenever we think about a franchise, we have to think about the quarterback position. And the number one quarterback in this division is clearly Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, even though he is coming off a disappointing campaign by his standards, look, he's been the best in the division since he jumped in. You think about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers having a chokehold on the division for like 4 years in a row prior to stumbling last year. I think they get back on track with Baker Mayfield. Second, this is going to be a bit of a surprise because everyone is ready to pour dirt on him. How about Tua Tagovailoa being the second quarterback in this division? And I know what people are saying last year kind of left a bad taste in many people's mouths when it came to Tua Tagovailoa. But I got to point out to you, in the last 3 years, Tua at one point has either led the league in completion percentage, and in 2023, he led the league in passing yards. So when surrounded by talent, when playing in an offense directed by a playmaker that sets him up for success, he has been very, very successful. So right behind Baker Mayfield, I'm going to say Tua Tagovailoa should get the nod. Now, third, and this might be controversial because we haven't seen enough of Tyler Shough to say that he is going to be elite. But I'm going to say right now he's elite within this division, so he goes ahead of Bryce Young. Tyler Shough showed and teased us last year at the end of the season, had a hot stretch where, look, he kind of crept back in contention for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Didn't win it, but certainly showed up well. The New Orleans Saints are excited about what he brings, and I'm excited to see what he does with Kellen Moore at the controls. We have seen what Kellen Moore has done with other quarterbacks. If Tyler Shough takes another step, he might supplant Tua Tagovailoa and Baker Mayfield and become the king of the South at quarterback. And last but not least, and people are going to take this as a shot for Bryce Young. Bryce Young has been a solid quarterback, but Bryce Young has kind of been on a bit of a roller coaster ride for the Carolina Panthers. He righted his wrongs, played well, but you're still looking to see him dominate at a high level. Perhaps Dave Canales handing off the play calling duties, allowing somebody else to kind of put this offense together, will allow Bryce Young to play his best football that we've seen in his young career. But right now, he is the caboose on this NFC South train. And I know the Carolina Panthers fans aren't happy with me for doing that. Let's see what we got. We got running back. Yeah, let's go to running back. This is easy. Bijan Robinson has to go to the front of the class. Bijan Robinson, fresh off a big-time extension, the unquestioned number one running back in the league, given his ability to make things happen as a runner and a receiver. I think it even gets better for him in Kevin Stefanski's offense. They'll utilize him in a bunch of different ways. He's been over 2,000 scrimmage yards, but let's see him maybe get to 2,300 scrimmage yards, and maybe he joins the exclusive club 1,000, meaning 1,000 rushing yards, 1,000 receiving yards at season's end. Now, the next back in the division, how about the marquee free agent signing for the New Orleans Saints? And that's Travis Etienne. He comes over. He's been really sneaky good the last few years. If you go back and look at the work that he put in with the Jacksonville Jaguars, he not only made a bunch of big plays, but he was kind of that stabilizing force on offense. For the Saints, he will probably do that for Tyler Shough. His ability to run the ball, his ability to make things happen in the passing game, particularly on screens, will make life easy for the young quarterback. More importantly, his ability to be the bell cow could allow Alvin Kamara to thrive in his role as RB2. I like Etienne, that's why I'm going to put him second. Third, this is difficult, but I'm going to go with Bucky Irving in this spot. And the reason why is because he is really teased big-time ability. He has flashed the ability to make things happen, just hasn't been able to do it consistently. I am saying that Zach Robinson comes over from Atlanta. He finds a way to unlock him, unleash him, and Bucky Irving has a great year because everyone is going to be focused on that passing game and those dynamic weapons that the Buccaneers have on the outside. Last, Chuba Hubbard. And it's funny that we got two Panthers in last place back-to-back years when they won the division last year, but that's just where we're at right now. Chuba Hubbard has shown the ability to be a spot playmaker, meaning when healthy and available, he certainly makes plays. But too often we've been seeing him on the sideline. Can we finally see him in the lineup? Can we see him be a 15, 16, 17 game starter where he gives us that dynamic production that we've been waiting on? Until we see it, I can't believe it. And that is why he is fourth in the rankings amongst running backs. Let's go to wide receiver. And this wide receiver group is really, really good. And it's good because there's some diversity in the ranks in terms of playmaking styles. I'm going to start off and say Drake London is the top pass catcher in this division. And when you think about big, physical, a guy that really expands the strike zone, that's Drake London. And in an offense where they're going to try and find different ways to use him over the middle of the field, I expect Drake London to have a big year. Also, remember, Kyle Pitts being able to control things in between the hashes. When you try and double team Drake London, you lead the big tight end in one-on-one situations against an overmatched linebacker or safety. Because of that, and Kyle Pitts' ability to kind of be the security blanket, look for Drake London's numbers to be through the roof. Secondly, and Teteroy McMillan, who really came on last year. I mean, this is someone that can make it happen, and the connection that he has with his quarterback really stands out. He is big. He's athletic. He can make every catch. The ball is always in play because his ability to not only track it with his eyes, but his size, his superior size over those defensive backs, make him an easy target for Bryce Young. And as he continues to settle in as the number one receiver for the Panthers, I think you're going to see the production continue to grow. We were really impressed with him last year. I think we'll be even more impressed with what he does during his sophomore season. Chris Olave from the New Orleans Saints is third. Outstanding route runner. Terrific route runner, great precision, great patience, consistently gets open against everything. And Kellen Moore really has a fun time diagramming plays for Olave. And Olave, who entered the league being an all-time scoring leader from Ohio State in terms of leading their wide receivers in touchdowns. Now coming to the league, he has shown the ability to really be a solid number one. Not only does he move the chains, but he can put the ball in the paint, and he is consistently open against single or double coverage. Because of that, I got him nestled right behind the guys. He's number 3 in my mind when it comes to this list. Now, this is where you can have the debate, and it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and back-to-back situations. I'm going to go with Emeka Egbuka at 4 and then Chris Godwin at 5. And this tandem I really like. And the reason why I like him is because I think both of these guys have Pro Bowl potential. And Egbuka, he continues the long tradition of Ohio State receivers jumping in. And in fact, you see one of his guys, a fellow Buckeye, Chris Olave, right ahead of him. Egbuka showed last year that he has the talent and the big play ability to really steady this offense when they had guys out the lineup. Well, now it becomes even easier for him to do his damage with Chris Godwin back and making plays. Godwin, a guy who has been a solid, a high-end wide receiver too for most of his career, continues to do that. He's the best wide receiver 2 in this division. That's why I got Buccaneers back-to-back at 4 and 5. Keep an eye on Godwin creating space and making plays available for Emeka Egbuka as Baker Mayfield throws the ball all over the yard. Now, this is where it's kind of like it's about your taste and what do you like in a wide receiver. So I'm going to go with Jahan Dotson for the Atlanta Falcons. And this is a bit of a projection because we just don't know what the plans are for him and how they want to use him. But I will say, watching him, he is teased and flashed throughout his career. He just hasn't been necessarily given a chance to be that guy that can be the full-time starter and have his role continue to grow. I think his route runner, his playmaker will give him a chance to be a nice complement to Drake London on the other side. Now let's go down to it, and we're just going to think about Coker from the Carolina Panthers being there. He's next. He's a guy who has had some production. He makes some plays. He does a really good job being available to Bryce Young. So we're going to put him there. We think that in other situations, we probably would do Jordan Tyson. But with the news coming out about Jordan Tyson having a hamstring injury that could keep him out for the first 2 months, I have no choice but to put him last, even though I would say the talent would suggest that he is a top 4, top 5 playmaker in this division. So there you have the wide receivers, London, McMillan, Olave, Egbuka, Godwin, Dotson, Coker, and Tyson. That's how we stack them up. And because of that, you can see why there's a lot of excitement and buzz in Atlanta. Now, with the offensive line, this is about styles making fights and how do you want to get down at the point of attack. And to me, I still think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the best offensive line. And the reason I'm going to say this is because they have the best lineman in Tristan Wirfs. And as they continue to figure out what their offensive identity is going to be, I think they're going to lean heavily on this offensive line to not only control the line of scrimmage, but to punch guys in the mouth so they can set the tone. As the Buccaneers want to remake themselves into being the bullies on the block, a lot of it will be led by that offensive line being able to get it done at the point of attack. Right after that, I think you have to talk about the New Orleans Saints and how solid they are and what they will be with a young crew of guys that are able to get it done in Kellen Moore's offense. Kellen Moore does a great job alleviating pressure on them by really mixing in his plays, throwing things to the sideline, not allowing defenses to get a great bead on what they're going to do. But then they also are able to run the football when they want to get down. Part of the reason I'm bullish on Travis Etienne having a lot of success is because this offensive line should blow holes at the point of attack, and that will allow number one and Alvin Kamara to take turns kind of waltzing through the middle of opposing defenses. Now, let's go to the Atlanta Falcons. Stability is everything. Continuity is everything. But more importantly, Kevin Stefanski bringing a system over that really fits what those guys do at the point of attack. We know that they're going to throw it all over the yard. They have tremendous confidence in the quarterback and the skill players. But up front, they have confidence that they can sort out all the protections. They can be physical in the run game when they need to. And more importantly, they have enough firepower to kind of finish opponents off. But a lot of that will be determined how this offensive line gels, how they continue to play and finish out people with a physicality and a violence in their game. We'll see if they can get it done. And then the Carolina Panthers, just questions abound. Like so many questions due to injury, you just don't know what you're going to get. And because you don't know, because of all the uncertainty compared with their division mates, I just think they fall behind the division. And I would say this, it doesn't really look good when you look at where all the blue is in comparison to the teammate, to their division rivals. It just doesn't seem like the Carolina Panthers have enough firepower to compete. But that is where some of these other factors come into it, like defense. Defensively, like there's a lot of talent within the division. But I'm going to say this, and I Bleav their draft kind of tipped their hand in terms of who they're going to be and how they're going to get down. And I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When you look at what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did, first they go and get Ruben Bain. Then they go and get Josiah Trotter. Then later they add Keontae Scott, guys that bring attitude, intensity, bring a level of physicality that you want to see. But more importantly, these are perfect fits for the style of defense that Todd Bowles wants to present at people. Zone dogs, bringing chaos at the point of attack, forcing quarterbacks into poor decisions or negative plays. And if you do that, you can win a lot of games. That's why I think the bounce back is real for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right after that, let's go with the Carolina Panthers. And we can go with the Carolina Panthers because they made some signings that should bolster some of their weak spots. Jalen Phillips coming in off the edge gives them a legitimate pass rusher that can get home. And then you think about Devin Lloyd signing a hefty blockbuster deal to be the new Mike linebacker in Carolina. And the thing about Devin Lloyd, 5 interceptions, always around the ball, terrific in coverage when it comes to being able to sit, clue the quarterback, and go make plays. He has all those things. They will ask him to tighten up some of his run defense because that's a big part of his game, and that's a big part of like the weaknesses of his game. He fixes that, he has a chance. Then I'm going to go, this is really, really tough because the Falcons have some talented pieces. The Saints showed some growth. Let's go with the Falcons in this one. And the reason why I'm going with the Falcons is just, I think collectively as a team, they just have more young talent and more dynamic weapons that'll be able to kind of play at a high level over a sustained period of time. I think about the brothers Terrell that are now going to be on the island trying to lock up and get down. I think about if they're able to get James Pierce after his suspension, what he potentially could add as a high motor, high revving player. That certainly is there. And then some of the pieces that are holdovers continue to dazzle when they've had their opportunities. So I got the Falcons there. And then last, we got the New Orleans Saints. And some of this is they're just an older defense. And so they're dependent on a lot of veterans to kind of make it where they can get after it. And even though it's risky to have so many older people on your front line, look, it's been proven these guys can play and play for a long time. I am worried about the loss of Demario Davis. I'm worried about the leadership vacuum and void that could be and the centerpiece of that. But having Cam Jordan come over and maybe his swan song to be able to inspire some of those young guys, I think the defense will play better. But right now they rank behind the rest of the division when it comes to their defensive performance and the production that I expect from them this season. Let's go to coaching. And this is always a very interesting one because you're trying to figure out, do you put the cart before the horse? Does the team win because of the coach, or does the team win and then the coach gets the credit? Well, I'm going to say this is a situation where in a division that is really tough when it comes to coaching, and this is kind of crazy, but I'm going to say Kevin Stefanski, I guess, is the class of the division. And it's crazy to say that, but then when you look at the resume, 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. I mean, he did it. He did it for a downtrodden franchise, took him to the playoffs twice, did it with different quarterbacks, continues to find a way to build things around his quarterback and put his team in a position. And even though it ended in ugly fashion, whatever that record was at the end, it was ugly, 8-26 or whatever that is. That's just not up to the standards and the expectations that we have for a Kevin Stefanski squad. But I'm saying this new environment fully allows him to be himself. A team that is going to lean into tough, smart, fast football players that will always give you a chance to win. That's why I'm high on Kevin Stefanski being able to win this division. Right after him, let's go and talk about Todd Bowles. And I'll say Todd Bowles is underrated and underappreciated, given the challenging circumstances that he's faced since taking it over. Hadn't had a lot of time to really impose his will on opponents through his defense because always dealing with a bunch of different stuff, whether it's the noise, whether it's injuries or those things, whether it's even him being on the hot seat. But here's what I say. He has always been at his best when backed into a corner. This defense got away from themselves early, but now they brought back guys that kind of fit the identity. I talked about Ruben Bain and Keontae Scott and Josiah Trotter, some of the veterans that are kind of coming on board. They have a little edge to them, and that edge is straight from Todd Bowles, and that might be the difference in whether they hang another banner in their stadium. Let's go with Dave Canales. Ooh, no, ho. I was about to say Dave Canales. That's tough. Let's go with Kellen Moore in this situation. The reason we go with Kellen Moore is just because when he had command of the offense and when he was controlling the offense certainly flowed. He has an outstanding feel for getting his playmakers the ball. He'll put them in favorable situations, and he'll allow them to basically dictate the terms of the game. He'll say, I'm going to get it to my best guys. You figure out a way to stop them. If you can't stop them, we're going to run it to the cows come home. He believes in that. He's stuck with that. And as a man of principle, if you say it, believe it, walk it and talk it, you got to get behind it. And so I am all the way behind him. And then finally, let's go with Dave Canales, who has been a solid coach. He's still trying to find his way in terms of what works for him as a coach. Should he be the play caller? Should he step back? Should he let his buddy handle it? And those things, I think at the end of the day, he's going to step back and see if he can kind of be a little bit more of a CEO, looking at the entire operation, trying to make sure that everyone is getting what they need from him in game, where he's not distracted by the next play call and those things. I think it's admirable. I think it's hard to pull it off when it's been such a big part of your DNA, but we will see as season's end if he can stick with it, if he can have the patience and really trust that his assistants are going to get it done. We will see if they're able to get it done in back-to-back years to make another playoff appearance. So there you have it. That's the way the division shakes up in terms of personnel. If I had to rank the division today in terms of who I think is going to win, first, I'm going to go to FanDuel Sportsbook and I'm going to consult their site and I'm going to see what they have. And right now they have the Bucks at plus 200, the New Orleans Saints at plus 260, Atlanta Falcons at plus 300, and the Carolina Panthers at plus 320. So like me, they weren't too far off. They didn't feel Carolina being the threat, but I think the team that you have to look at, why are the New Orleans Saints plus 260? Are they telling us that maybe there's more belief in talent that is out there in a quarterback-driven league where we talk about the play of QB1 mattering more than anybody else on the field? The odds makers are going big on the Saints because there's obviously a lot of love in the streets for the second-year pro. Let's see if he can spark his team on a championship run, and maybe improbable championship run considering all the age on defense. I'm going to say it's not going to happen. I think this banner goes right back to the Buccaneers, considering they won it 4 out of the last 5. I think 5 out of the last 6 is a reasonable expectation. So if I had to lay a little down, give me that plus 200 on the Bucs. I think they find a way to get it done this season. Until next time, I am Bucky Brooks. This is the Bucky Brooks Show. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you tell a friend to check out all the cool things that we're doing over here at Bleav. Until next time, I am out.